Hi, my friend. I want to share something with you that I witnessed in myself. And it is the deep satisfaction and fulfillment that comes with being in touch with the dimension of emptiness, of space, of presence, of stillness, spaciousness, however you want to call it, inside of us. And this is a state of being, so it goes beyond any thoughts and any emotions. For me, this state feels way more natural than any emotion, even if it's love or gratitude. This state of being, which I call emptiness, or others might call it spaciousness, stillness, presence, is our essence. It is the source. And it's not just the source of us, it's the source of whole existence. To make clear in the beginning that there is a big difference between emptiness, the state of being, and the emotion, the feeling we call empty. So what I'm talking about here is not the pain body inside of us, the emotion of feeling bored or apathy. This is very different. Very different. I made a video on that the other day, and it kind of turned out to be a channeling. If you want to watch it, I'm going to link it somewhere here for you. It's more a channeling where you can lean back, drink a cup of tea, and just listen, just be in the energy of this, or maybe even meditate, close your eyes. And the purpose of this video right now, right here, is to explain it a little bit more in depth with the approach of our mind, and then also which practical steps we can take to align ourselves with this universal power of emptiness, of presence. Because personally, for me, I find that this state of being needs to be experienced. You cannot even get close with words in your description to what it actually is. The words in itself are reducing it. The words are limited because this emptiness, this spaciousness is beyond this world. And the words are of this world. And at the same time, it can really help to be able to at least a tiny little bit grasp it with our mind, even though if we're not able to do that, to understand it as much as we can with our human mind, because for me, I found that it works best not to eradicate my mind and suppress it and pretend it's not there and trying all the time not to think, but actually taking it by my hand and working together, using it as a tool, knowing it's a tool, knowing that what I'm talking about here, the emptiness, the presence, this deep satisfaction with our natural state of being cannot be explained. And you cannot get there by thinking. We cannot get there by thinking. We cannot. But what we want to do is we want our mind to get out of the way and our emotions to get out of the way. Because when they are out of the way, we're in touch with the presence, the emptiness, the stillness, the silence. But we don't do that by, at least that's my way. My way is not to suppress any emotions, not to suppress any thoughts, but to hold them in a loving and accepting space. And by doing so, by allowing them to be as they are, observing them as much as we can, noticing them, bringing awareness to them, and then allowing them to be there, knowing that they're not true, knowing that they are just thoughts and just emotions, just energy in the body. So by allowing them, they dissolve. By holding space around them, they get see-through. And this is actually the way for me to get in touch with the emptiness, the stillness, the presence, the silence. But before I get a little bit more into that, I want to share something else. Because I did some research earlier because I was so curious to know what other traditions say about this. Because I've heard here and there people talk about it, the presence, the spaciousness, the emptiness, that is the foundation of life. And this is also how I personally sense it. When I made this video on channeling, I was super in it. As much as I could, because I was talking, and simply by the act of talking, I'm kind of pulled back into this physical world, right? But I felt super in touch with the emptiness, the underlying dimension where everything is arising from. And right now, for example, I feel it a little bit, not as much as when I did this video, the other video, but I do feel it. So there are a lot of other traditions talking about this. In the Tao, in the Tao Te Ching, the most important book in the philosophy, the art of living in the flow of life of the Tao, there, the emptiness, the void, is the wellspring where everything is derived from. It is the source. It is where yin and yang are arising from. In Zen and in Buddhism, similar. They talk a lot about emptiness, silence, spaciousness, presence. There are a lot of different words for that, and none of them can really grasp it because it's so beyond graspable. You cannot grasp it with the human mind. You can only sense it. Even in really ancient traditions in Egypt, in the ancient mythology of Egypt, they have a very big pantheon, right, of gods and goddesses. And there they tell the story of the very first God, Nu. And what that is describing is the primal waters, the void before anything was existing. The emptiness where I think Amun-Ra is arising from and then creating life. And actually, in this mythology, it is also said that everything is returning back to Nu, to this place, to this emptiness. Everything is dissolving. Everything was what has been created is going to dissolve again and return back to this nothingness. It is source. All right. So, what can we do to align ourselves with this, right? Some of my favorite ways are Qigong, meditation, silent meditation, and going alone into nature. These are some of my favorite ways. And these are just tools which can help us. But actually, this emptiness, the presence, the silence is there in every now moment. It is never separated from you or anything you see, you hear, you touch. It is the foundation of existence, which is always there. And you can always sense it there. When we're still and silent, we can sense that. When there is a lot of mental noise and a lot of emotional turmoil, it is harder to be in touch with this. So these practices of meditation, going into nature alone, or with somebody, Qigong, they can just help us to become silent and thus get in touch with this dimension of silence, with this dimension of presence. Because our mind and our emotions are always going to pull us out of it. For some reason, you might notice that there is a resistance against being still. There is resistance inside against, at times, maybe not always, but for me, at times, I can notice that there is resistance inside of me against becoming still and present and empty of thoughts and empty of emotions. Something inside of me wants these emotions and wants these thoughts to keep them alive. And when I feel this, I hold it. I am with it. I don't need it to be any different. I can observe it and allow it to be as it is, knowing that everything is always changing, and simply by seeing what is there and accepting it, not resisting it, it is moving through. And it's kind of like clouds. The sky is always there, blue and beautiful. But sometimes there are clouds coming, and sometimes we might only see parts of the sky, and sometimes the sky is fully cloudy. And we don't see the sky, but it's still there. It's never not there. And also, the sky is something we cannot touch. It's actually a good analogy because the sky is also something we cannot touch. And it only appears to us to be blue, but it's actually not blue. It's endless. It's everywhere. It is space. And our emotions and thoughts are the clouds. They look so thick and so dense and so important and so not see-through. But they actually are. And you can allow the wind of life to move the clouds through. For me, noticing this really blew my mind. And here is why. I always thought that it's so beautiful to feel love and to feel gratitude and positivity. And now, right now, maybe that's going to change, but right now, I feel what is way more natural and what feels way more complete and whole is to be at one with a state of emptiness, with presence. And when I'm fully present, when I'm fully empty, there are no thoughts and there are no emotions. Also, no emotion, no positive emotion like love and gratitude, right? Which we've been conditioned to think that they're so good and that there is something we should be striving for. And then there's another layer. Then there is love and gratitude as a state of being. At least that's how I perceive it, and I hope it makes sense to you. So there is love and gratitude on an emotional level where it does have an opposite, where love has an opposite, and I can feel it, and gratitude has an opposite, whatever opposite it is for you. And then there is a state of being of love and gratitude where it does not have an opposite, where it simply is. And then even deeper than that, the foundation, the place which feels the absolute most natural, where it feels like essence, it feels like source, is for me emptiness, presence, stillness, spaciousness. For me, it feels empty. And it feels so unifying. I feel fully in the flow of life, fully aligned with the higher power to move through me when I feel, in that sense, empty, present. So, some things we can do to align ourselves with this universal power are to create this space in our life, in our everyday life, where we can get in touch with this, because it's always there right now. It's through you, it's through me, it's through everything you're seeing, everything you're touching. It's through everything right now. And we might just not be able to sense it. Sometimes more, sometimes less. And it can be a practice to get in touch with presence, emptiness, with this foundation, the wellspring where everything is derived from. So, something I like to do is to create these moments where I set aside a couple of minutes where I intend to just be. I put away my phone, any books, anything that could distract me and pull me into the external, and I focus on just being with what is there. I like to close my eyes so I don't get pulled into the external, but you can also keep your eyes open. I like to not move because that helps me to get in touch with the stillness or emptiness. Maybe for you it's different. Maybe for you, you find out that sometimes it's easier when you're doing some rhythmic moving, like in Qigong when you're shaking. And you create this couple of minutes where you intend to connect with this. And what I do is I don't force my way into presence and emptiness. By now you might have found out that this doesn't feel right to me, and it doesn't work for me at all. But I sit with the thoughts and I sit with the emotions, which are the clouds in the sky. And to connect with the sky more consciously, I observe the clouds, the thoughts, the emotions. I observe the sensations in my body. And I do my best to not cling onto them and to allow them to move through, because you might notice sometimes a part of us likes to keep being engaged in these thoughts and keep being engaged in these emotions and doesn't want to stop feeling, doesn't want to stop thinking. So I'm intending to allow them to move through, allow the clouds to disappear. And just be there. Connect with presence and emptiness, the state of no thinking, the state of no emotions. Be aware of any judgment coming up when this is not working, and when intending for the thoughts and emotions to move through, the clouds to move through, that they are not. Be really aware when there is judgment coming up. Because this is just another layer of thoughts and another layer of emotions. So if this judgment is coming up, Sit with it. Allow it. It is not true. You can never not be in touch with this source. You can never not be in touch with the dimension of emptiness through you, through every cell inside of you and outside of you, through whole existence, where everything and everybody is returning to. I hope this helped and this inspired you in any way. Let me know in the comments below, what is your experience with this? If this is making sense to you, and what is your experience of this? What is your truth around this? I'm super happy to hear from you. Leave a like, leave a comment, and I'll see you soon.